The major thing that the Biomedical Research Centre is designed to do is to take forward advances in the basic sciences coming out of the sort of underpinning science, a lot of it in the University of Nottingham, in the life sciences, but also in areas such as physics and engineering, and translating those for patient benefit.
Some of the questions we cannot address with one discipline alone, and multidisciplinary team is an essential part of science.
The network that the BRC has allowed us to develop has really been integral in making that research work and then being able to promote it across the different hospital trusts.
Each of the themes based in disease areas has got a series of research projects which it was set up to deliver.
So we've had some real successes over the last 5 years actually. We've worked out how to improve recovery following surgery. We've worked out what causes muscles to waste in older patients. We've worked out a way of giving interventions digitally, so instead of coming to the hospital, you would have that intervention on an app. And all of that's been wrapped up into a programme of research that really has pushed things forwards in Nottingham over the last 5.5 years.
As a cross-cutting theme, we work closely with the researchers of the disease themes to provide cutting-edge imaging biomarkers. These biomarkers provide vital additional information on the physiology and the mechanisms of diseases, and that has clear added value for experimental medicine studies and mechanistic clinical trials. The achievement is really to develop new links and joint working between researchers that develop innovative imaging and those validating and shaping the tools for clinical use.
We work with the imaging theme, we work with the mental health theme, and we are developing and have developed questionnaire measures that can be used in clinic. We've developed and tested surgical drapes that can be used to allow surgery to continue during COVID-19, for example.
We've looked at developing a new treatment for Tourette's syndrome. We've developed an avatar which we use to objectively measure depression through facial movement and speech. We've developed an early warning system with people with bipolar disorder with extensive amount of co-production, human-computer interaction. We've developed a large bibliography of people's real-life experiences, creating a digital library of them.
In an NIHR funded study, we showed that by increasing the dose of one of your inhalers, you could reduce the severity or prevent infections altogether. That's translated into clinical guidelines. In idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, we've developed new biomarkers that will predict outcomes such as death or disease progression, and also tell us about disease biology. These have been used in a number of studies now, particularly in clinical trials to accelerate drug discovery. And the infection theme, by looking at large-scale vaccine surveillance, particularly for pneumococcus, we've altered vaccine guidelines in the UK and saved the NHS many tens of millions of pounds by showing who benefits and who doesn't benefit from vaccination against pneumococcus.
The challenge of chronic liver disease is that it presents late, and we want to try to find better ways of diagnosing it. And our large study, almost 10 years ago, showed that we could reduce the number of liver biopsies by about 80%. And using that data, that serum panel called the ELF test has now been commercialized by a company called Siemens and is on sale both in the UK and internationally.
We now have patients and the public involved not just in the engagement bit, but also in the involvement bit from the earliest stages of research. And that actually changes the way that we undertake research and the programs that we deliver. So I think it's integral to everything that we do in the Biomedical Research Centre. And in fact, Nottingham is known nationally as being a centre which takes us very seriously.
We have patients sitting on project steering groups. We have patients who are co-applicants on our grants. We have patients who are co-authors on our publications and take the work and the projects they've been involved to conference and present them as key members of the research team.
The reason we want to do this is to make sure that what we're looking at and what we're researching isn't just something that we think is a good idea to do, but it's actually grounded in everyday need.
Pandemic has unmasked the major influence of ethnicity as well as socioeconomic status, and so we had specific PPIE activities related to it, and it started with our work with the Panther studies.
So Panther's a collaboration based around COVID. It's funded by the MRC and the BRC here in Nottingham. It's a pandemic tracking of healthcare workers. It's a programme of research that's looked at exposed healthcare workers. It's looked at the antibody profiles they have, and it's allowed us to work out what happens during vaccination, what happens with novel variants, and it's allowed us to feed information into policy and develop research papers and publish those papers that have guided things like the vaccination booster policy.
Nottingham Biomedical Research Centre made a major contribution nationally to dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. We did that by contributing to all of the urgent public health studies and providing not only recruiting patients and participating in the most important research programs which led to new treatments and the development of vaccines for COVID, but also through providing leadership. So a number of people involved, the Biomedical Research Centre were involved in various national roles which helped to deliver research and actually plan healthcare during the pandemic.
Professor Lim's work on dexamethasone for pandemic influenza was rapidly adapted to make the dexamethasone arm of the recovery trial. And dexamethasone, as you know, is now a treatment for coronavirus in all countries of the world.
We set up an early stage NORCORP, or Nottingham Recovery from COVID research platform. That's been immensely successful actually. Several of the studies that we started last summer have gone on to get national funding, and we're starting to see some really interesting results come out of that research. That provided the pump priming that was essential to get studies up and running, and actually act as a stimulus to bring in additional funding from outside.
You do need busy clinicians with big clinics. However, you also need the dedicated scientists who have the time to spend in the labs and supporting the work. So it's a genuine collaboration. Neither one could survive without the other.
I think the Biomedical Research Centre over the period 2017 until now has been immensely successful. You've only got to look at the number of publications, number of higher degrees awarded, the number of research grants, the leverage on external funding that we've brought in to see that. We want to build on everything that has gone well. We want to refocus to take advantages of some of the opportunities that are coming through in the basic sciences and indeed through the sort of big data side of things. Over the last 5 years, some of the things that we have done have now got to a stage where we are ready to roll them out quite extensively into the NHS, but we can only do that regionally and nationally by working very closely with our partners in the health service.